Welcome back to Five Out, a Ball Knowers podcast. My name is Graham Dinas. I'm going to be running the point today. I am once again being joined by Austin Harrelson and Brendan Evers. Nick Triplett is back with us for his first live episode, but he was with us on the pre-recorded first episode. And then Nolan Causey will be joining us shortly. So right now we're just four out. How are we doing this morning, gentlemen?
Fantastic.
Football
Lovely.
is back upon us, so it's a good morning.
Especially after last night's New Mexico State victory. But that obviously will be our top conversation in a little bit.
That's just normal New Mexico, Nick.
Yeah.
It's been a good
Yeah,
morning.
so-
Excited for Week 3 college football. Week 2 should be fun tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. Before we get into the pod, just want to remind everyone that our links are in the description. Follow us on Twitter. We're live tweeting through some of the games, so follow us there, and also follow us on Instagram. That's how we're getting most of the word out about our streams going live. But they're live at the same time every week. But follow us there, and then also follow us on Facebook. We are working on finalizing that page, and stuff will start going out on that. I'm assuming like very soon.
Yeah,
Ladies and
just
gentlemen, our special guest George joining the podcast.
he's
George
knocking
Austin's cat.
knocking shit over.
Love
He's
the
being an asshole.
professionalism.
And then obviously, the link to the YouTube page is in the description. It's where you're listening to us anyway. But like the video and subscribe to the page if you haven't already. I guess let's just get into it. We're going to start this week in the NFL, going all the way back to last Sunday, where we may have seen the game of the year in week 1 as the reigning MVP and MVP runner-up dueled in Buffalo on Sunday night with the Bills coming out on top 41-40. That game was over with, 5 minutes left. The Ravens had it in the bag. The Bills get a fluke touchdown late off a deflection, which was an incredible play, followed by a super uncharacteristic Derrick Henry fumble that allows the Bills to score another touchdown late. But they couldn't get the 2-point conversion to go, so they were down 2. And after a questionable decision, which we'll get into the optics on the 4th and 3 on the 38-yard line, the Ravens decide to punt the ball away to the Bills and allow Josh Allen to march downfield and get new Bill Matt Prater a game-winning field goal as time expired in a pseudo fire drill type situation. Just kind of an unreal last 30 minutes of real time, 5 minutes of game time in that Buffalo game. I'll start with you, Brendan. What stands out to you from that Buffalo late game surge?
What stands out is that Baltimore really didn't do anything right. You mentioned they didn't do anything wrong, rather, right? Derrick Henry fumbling, that's super uncharacteristic, but they were trying to run the clock. And if they get a couple of first downs on that drive, then Buffalo has no chance to win the game. And also, it's more lucky that Buffalo didn't get a 2-point conversion and had to score 3 times in order to win the game or even still be in it. And they were still able to do it. So I think it was a great game. Both of those offenses are so good. And I don't know if it necessarily says anything about each team's defense. That I just think Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they've got playmakers around them, but both of those offenses are so good that that's a great week 1 matchup. It was in prime time, so everyone was watching it. It was my favorite game that I watched last week, for sure. I sent us a message as soon as it ended, like, that has to be our lead story this week, because it was by far the best game of the week. And the Matt Prater story is super cool. Like, he was kicking in Arizona at high school on Wednesday of last week and took a red eye to Buffalo on Thursday. And NBC was saying he didn't even know his teammates' names, and yet he had to run out there with like 30 seconds left in the game. But he's kicked hundreds of field goals in his NFL career, so a 38-yarder was nothing. But it does make for a cool story.
I'll go to you, Austin. What stands out?
I mean, these are obviously the two best teams, arguably in football. You know, depending on how you view the Eagles and how you view the Chiefs. I mean, and you know what sucks for the Ravens is they, you know, last year in the playoffs, how they lost to the Bills was just, you know, you expect them to come out here firing on all cylinders, and they were, but then they actually lose the game in an even worse fashion than what they did last
Did you
year.
see at one point they had like a 99% chance to win?
Right. Like, I mean, it's insane. Fans are now, like, and this is crazy to me that fans are now questioning, you know, John Harbaugh in Baltimore. And in one sense, yes, I can understand, you know, it's been, I mean, what Harbaugh last won, it was 13 years ago when they beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And since then, the Ravens have been consistently good. They've been consistently one of the best teams in football, but they just have not been able to get the job done. And, you know, I think fans, especially if, you know, you have an early round exit this season, I think that fans are going to start to grow a little bit tired of, they're not going to grow tired of Lamar. He's going to be an MVP front runner for the next half decade. So that leads it to the next guy, and that's Harbaugh. So just a tough loss, heartbreaking loss.
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in on there. I know it's heartbreaking, but I think we do have to calm down because it's week one for starters, and what we see right now from any team, whether it's John Harbaugh's or if it's anybody else in the league, we're just one game in. And had one small play been different in this comeback, we wouldn't be talking about the Ravens and where they might have done something wrong. We would be looking at them as maybe the top team in the NFL after that first week just because of how well they were able to beat Buffalo and score well on offense. I mean, yes, they have not won a Super Bowl in 13 years, but that has not come without its own issues. Throughout that 13-year stretch, I know they've had points where they've regressed, and even in the past few years where it seems like they've had more trouble having wide receivers and other players that are able to be on the catching offense that would really not be able to stick. And now, I think after last week's game, especially over the last year or so, that's starting to come into fruition. Does that stay throughout the rest of this year? Who knows? I think this offense looks a lot better than what they did a couple of years ago. And I think it's too crazy to just go out and just immediately say that they're not going to look good, that people have a right to be upset with the team.
Right.
People are going to be upset even if they won just because of something that happened in the second quarter probably. I think it's too much to say a lot with the Ravens right now. Give them time. I feel like by tomorrow evening we won't be panicking too much about them anymore.
But it's just Ravens fans doing this. That's the thing. Like, me, as I'm not even going to tell you my favorite team, but, you know.
Oh, it's already on record, Austin.
When
You wanna talk about them next?
We'll get to that.
No, I actually don't want to talk about them at all. But no, like, it's just Ravens fans overreacting. And I feel like that's just how the sport of football is. You know, one week it's bad. Next week it's, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl. So, I don't know.
I'm actually with Nick on this though. It took like some crazy extraneous circumstances for Buffalo to come back and win this game. So, like, Buffalo won the game, but Baltimore was like the better football team for all of the game.
That's the point. I was just
So
the way that Baltimore dominated the game on the ground, Derrick Henry rushing for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lamar was super efficient as a passer, and he was using his legs in key spots. They looked like the much better team. Buffalo's defense was completely absent for pretty much the entire game. And then it was just a bunch of fluky plays down the stretch and a lot of, like, James Cook having, like, excellent execution by the Bills to block downfield on that little screen pass that he took for 50 yards. But, like, that play isn't always going to be there. I came out, I'm going to go full Russillo, but I came out more impressed with Baltimore after watching that game. Which I think, and having a week one game against one of the certainly 4 best teams in the league, someone has to lose that game. And the fact that it was lost in such a manner is going to make it feel like the sky is falling, but it's not. The Ravens are still that team I watched is going to win 12 games this year at the bare minimum. So I wouldn't be worried. I want to talk a little bit more about the punt decision. I want to just get everyone's thoughts on what they would have done in that spot. You're up by 2 points. You have the ball on your own 38-yard line, and you have 3 yards to go with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on your team. Now, they'd struggled to convert down the stretch with those guys, but a lot of people are saying that they should have went for it anyway with, a minute 33 left on the clock. Would you have punted in that spot, or would you have gone for it, Austin?
You punt there, okay? Like, you punt. And a minute and a half left on the clock. You're your own 38-yard line. You always punt in that situation. Like, I don't care if you're playing, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, it does not matter. Even if, the Bills' offense had been executing on in everything in that fourth quarter. It's like, if you don't get it, they're still just going to run out the clock. They're going to run out the clock. They're going to let Prater do the same exact thing that he did on that drive. But you're setting your team up for more success and betting on your defense, which I think that they should have done because they played well throughout most of the game. And so I definitely think that punting there is the right decision.
What about you, Brendan? Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if you're punting it, you're practically guaranteeing that you are going to have to play defense. Why not be aggressive and try to go for that play? I know it's a 3-yard play, but in all reality, we're still talking about Derrick Henry. We're still talking about Lamar Jackson. We've been talking about this Ravens offense that went out and scored more than 40 points and was able to get a ton of yardage throughout that entire game. What's to say that they wouldn't have been able to get just 3 or 4 yards on one play? If they would have done that, then we might be looking at it as a guaranteed win at that point. And instead, I know they're making a safe play, but it's week 1. Regardless, they lost. So I guess the way that I'm viewing it is they didn't gain anything by punting it, but they would have been able to gain a lot more if they would have taken the chance.
If you don't get it, though, you're almost guaranteeing a Buffalo win. Like, you're guaranteeing a Buffalo win.
Right, but if you look
point.
at it right now, they still guaranteed a Buffalo win.
Right. Well,
with
that's
that
hindsight
Well,
2020. That's just because it happened. Like, that doesn't happen.
I guess my point with it is if you're going to give confidence in your defense, why not put them at the 35-yard line? If you are punting the ball and you are starting them at the 5 or 4 yard line.
Well, Nick, because if they're starting at the 35-yard line, they've probably already lost the game.
Right.
Matt Prater has made over 80 field goals from beyond 50 in his career.
He's 80 years old.
I mixed it up. Were they on the which 38-yard line were they?
They're defending side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're right. Yeah.
Okay. I mixed that up.
The point I'm going to make is Josh Allen threw for 250 yards in that fourth quarter. If you're going to punt the ball to him, you're just draining away the clock. Josh is going to get back to the 38-yard line with how he's playing already in the fourth quarter. So you can seal it with the offense, or you can punt and pray, which is what they did essentially, that Josh is going to not convert once out of 3 plays downfield, which he was doing the entire fourth quarter. So I don't know if I am 100% in the go for it camp, but like that's what the argument is they're going to get back to that point either way. So you might as well try and end it when you can. What about you, Brendan? What's your take?
My take is that you have to punt there. And it's not because I think that they should have had confidence in their defense. I do agree, Nick, that you leave it in the hands of your offense because they've been carrying you the whole game. The problem is they did have, every football team is going to have negative plays or plays that aren't successful. And if that is the time when you have the unsuccessful play, then it's the coaching decision that basically at that point lost you the game. Because at that point, the Bills offense only needs to get like 10 yards before you even feel confident about Matt Prater, who's again like 41, I think. But
80.
He's kicked
He's
so
so
much.
old.
He's kicked so much in his career that it's like, okay, if you get it inside 50, it's basically a chippy. So I think you have to punt just because if that's the one play that you're not successful, you're going to lose. Now, and they also did the right things by forcing the Bills to spend all their timeouts. Like it still ended up with a somewhat of a fire drill at the end of the game. Not to nearly to the extent of like that first half in Chiefs Chargers. But I think you punt. But then it's one of those things that I punt and I'm just praying like, please let us get a stop. Please let there be a drop.
That's the thing.
If there's any
whenever, go ahead, Nick.
If there's any week that you're not going to do something that's extremely risky, it's going to be week 1. And so I'm kind of with you guys. I'm not going to say that I would be like, I would immediately want to just go out and make that type of play. But at the same time, I guess you can think of it as like if you're wanting to go out, try to be aggressive in that first week, you could do that. But it's week 1. I think one of the funny things to me is that a lot of people are going to carry weight with this game and assume that whenever these teams meet up later on in January that this game is actually going to matter. And I don't really think that any of it carries over to that game. So especially for the fact that the Ravens would go out and punt rather than maybe show off another play, try to make something else happen. I don't think it's the end of the world either way, regardless of the outcome, whatever happened.
All right, the Bills. Go ahead.
No, I was also going to say too, this is one of those things that Bills fans are going to like, they're going to celebrate like crazy because they had this incredible comeback. But to further the point that Baltimore is a very good football team, if you asked the average Bills fan, all right, you want to play the Ravens again? You won? So let's stack up good wins. All of them would say, absolutely not. We don't want to play them again. Because it's going to be a shootout every game, an offensive shootout. And for the for the casual fan, it's awesome. Like, I loved watching that game because you're watching greatness on both sides of the ball or on both sides of the offense. And it's like, okay, well, what can you do when you've got basically 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks on each side of the ball? How do you defend Lamar Jackson? Because he's become one of the best pocket passers in the league, and he can still run and like stiff arm you and what, like he's incredible. And Josh Allen was also doing it with his legs. And if they got the 2-point conversion earlier in the game where I forgot the receiver who stepped out of the back of the end zone.
Keon Coleman.
Yeah, it might have been a different conversation at the end of the game too, with Baltimore going for it or not. Like, I think maybe they do. I don't know, but certainly the game of the week. And I know, like, these two teams will probably meet up in the playoffs again. So
I'd say there's over a 50% chance that we'll see these two teams again in January. The Bills play tomorrow. They are on the road at the Jets, who we'll talk about here in a bit. They're going to be 6.5-point favorites, and then the Ravens get a home game against the Browns. They're 11.5-point favorites.
Stinker.
And I picked them as my survivor pool team this week, but you never know with those pesky Browns. So
they're not good. So
you
actually,
never
I
know.
think we do know.
Joe
a lot.
Flacco revenge game. There's a lot of factors here. Okay. We don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
I regret to say anything about the Browns this early.
That's fair. All right.
this is
next
the
game.
NFL too. Like, what? Both of these teams might lose to somebody that they have no business losing to.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, I do not know the Bills' schedule, but like they could lose to like Atlanta or something, like just out of nowhere, and you're like, how does this happen?
The NFL on any given
Like,
Sunday. That's what they say.
Didn't the Chiefs last year lose to like? Well, I guess they lost it. Didn't they lose to Denver on the road? And like first year Bo Nix, you don't really have any business losing to Denver last year.
think
I
Denver
think
should have
they
beat them
still-
twice.
Yeah, they still made the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
shit happens. It's the NFL.
All right, Monday Night Football last week. We have to talk about it, Austin. It sucks. We don't have to talk about it for long, but we have to mention it. Vikings 27, Bears 24. J.J. McCarthy throws for 50 yards in the first half and is looking like quite possibly the worst quarterback to ever step foot on the field, while Caleb Williams is leading this new-look Bears offense. And then in the second half, you just see everything just switch. And Caleb has reverted back to year one. The Ben Johnson effect there is no Ben Johnson effect. And then J.J. McCarthy becomes 2011 Tim Tebow all over again. He ends up with 3 touchdowns.
Graham, you just sounded like John Calipari whenever he started at
Yes,
Arkansas with the Ben Johnson effect. Yeah.
There is no Ben Johnson effect.
There is no Ben. The Ben Johnson effect. There is no Ben Johnson.
I talked
effect.
with the team. There is no team. Austin, I'll start with you on the Bears.
So, I think things would have went so much differently if DeAndre Swift was not the starting running back for the Chicago Bears. I don't think that you'll find somebody that dislikes DeAndre Swift as much as I do. Okay? I've never seen a running back. And the offensive line, this new look offensive line actually played good. They played good, right? And if you're rewatching clips from the game, you can see they're opening up holes for DeAndre Swift. But DeAndre Swift is not a north and south running back. For some God-given reason, he thinks, I'm going to run from sideline to sideline. I'm going to find open space there. But I'm actually ass. And so DeAndre Swift is actually, if he was not the starting running back for the Bears, and Chicago has more of a north and south running back, I think Chicago wins this game. DeAndre Swift didn't play so horribly bad, but I just think that I hate this team.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Can we get?
Didn't we just talk
can we get some
about how the
overreaction?
Ravens might have had the most overreacting fan base?
Yeah, well, trust me, I haven't seen the Bears win a playoff game since I was 8 years old. Okay? 8 years old, Nick.
Hang
This
on
is
a
more of
second.
an apology to Ravens fans.
I'm 21. That's 13 years of my life. I've had to watch this team shit the bed. I actually watched the most horrific loss in a franchise's history when Cody Parkey had to double doink and oh my gosh. I do think the Bears are fine though. I think they're fine. I think that it's another one of those games where just so many things started going wrong in that fourth quarter. And J.J. McCarthy, he had to have sold his soul for that game because he looked horrible, horrid to start that ball game. And then just all of a sudden,
Whoa! There he
I
is.
mean, did I cut out?
No.
No
No,
one's
we
is
still
here.
heard you, Greg.
Oh, Nolan.
Here, I'm sorry. The computer just not working today, so we're on the iPhone.
We got to figure out how to get Nolan to not be.
Nolan,
To
you
not
are
be
Speaking of
sideways.
things that don't work, continue about the Bears, Austin.
Thank you for that, Nicholas. I don't like the team, and I'm just gonna sit this one out.
Okay, Austin, you have to admit that they did look more competent, especially on offense.
Yeah, until they didn't, and that's the problem. Is that Caleb Williams in the second half was, it was rough. It was rough, and I think that having DeAndre Swift in that backfield is going to set the Bears back,
Yeah,
and it's going to put them in a spot where they do not need to be.
He learned the bench on my fantasy team this week, by the way.
Yep. Well, he's about to learn the couch every Sunday because he's going to get cut. He's going to be cut by the Chicago Bears because nobody's going to trade for him. Who is trading for him?
I think having watched enough Bears games the past 7 years, ever since 2018 team. You kind of, what I've done as a Bears fan, my coping mechanism, I've developed a sense of nihilism when I watch the Bears.
Right.
And it's not like I don't get disappointed whenever they have these late game collapses anymore. I can laugh it off now because you know it's going to happen, and every week just gets funnier than the last. And so that's kind of the approach that I've taken is you just kind of, it happens, and you just got to think it's funny because it is funny every time. It's so predictable.
I'm sitting there on my couch. My girlfriend is sleeping, and I'm just sitting there in my Justin Fields jersey, funny enough. And we'll talk about that game. But I'm just sitting there like, well, what are you going to do? I mean,
Bears are getting 6.5 points at Detroit on Sunday. In the Ben Johnson revenge game, which Detroit didn't look great either. We'll talk about them. Minnesota gets the Sunday night game against the Falcons. They're going to be 3.5-point favorites at home.
I'm taking Falcons spread and Bears money line. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about probably the most unexpected result of Week 1. Colts 33, Dolphins 8. Daniel Jones, sneaky.
See,
good.
that's what pisses me off, man, is that Daniel Jones looked like Jesus Christ on the football field, and Ben Johnson had DeAndre Swift. Daniel Jones looked so good.
Daniel Jones, 22 of 29, 272 yards.
Austin,
3
didn't you say on
touchdowns,
our
2 of them
first
the ground.
podcast
Shut up.
that Daniel Jones was not a good NFL quarterback?
Yeah, well, neither's Caleb Williams now. So, I'm stuck watching Daniel Jones play at an MVP level.
No, you were ready to say that the Colts were going to be like the worst team in football or something because
Right.
you got Daniel
was not-
Jones
okay.
back there.
All right. Let's not act
Glad
like
we
that. I
have
was
our
the only
own-
one sitting here.
The
saying-
overreaction on our panel is insane.
Yeah,
Austin, it's going to be
Daniel
okay.
Jones
The
was
Bears
not
are not
supposed to
going
do
to
that.
lose every football game.
You say that. You say that until they do.
Daniel Jones, 0 turnovers. Tua Tagovailoa, 3 turnovers. 14 to 23, 114 passing yards, 1 touchdown, which was just in the flat to Achane, who did all the work. Which quarterback's performance was more surprising? I think we know Austin's answer. Nick, who was more surprising? Daniel Jones
There
or
is
Tua?
no way that anybody that is not with the Colts thought that Daniel Jones would go
Right.
in and throw 3 touchdowns.
No,
and
Colts
get
fans didn't
nearly
even think it
300
either.
Yards.
He threw
All right.
1. He ran for 2.
Well, threw 1. Sorry. Scored 3 touchdowns. Nevertheless, there was no expectation of this whatsoever. I get that it was pretty bad for Tua, but I know that we've also seen him not do as well at the end of last season, and not to say that that's going to carry over all the way, but how could you sit through that game and think that the Colts were going to go out and beat any team by 25 points this year?
Do we think that's more of an indictment on Miami, or do we think Indianapolis is?
I think Miami looked
AFC
horrible.
South contender. Like, do
Miami
you think
looked
the Colts
so
can win the
bad.
South?
No, I think that I think
That's all TBD.
right.
Yeah.
It's only 1 week.
That's how scared
Oh my
I am
gosh.
of the Colts still. Not a chance.
And Tua just looked so unbelievably bad, and that it does make me feel better about the Bears game because, my God, if Tua Tagovailoa would have been it would have been the Chicago Bears starting quarterback in that game, I would have jumped ship. I'm not gonna lie, like that would have done it for me. But no, I think the Dolphins just looked so bad. It looked really bad.
Nolan, what are your thoughts? Danny Dimes or Tua more surprising?
No, I didn't watch a lot of that game. I turned it off after watching Tua look a little incompetent at quarterback, if you wanted to call it. But I honestly was pretty surprised with Daniel Jones' performance. He actually looked like comfortable in the pocket, which I've never been able to do. I'm run around and I don't know what was going on usually, but no, he actually looked comfortable in the pocket, receivers. Daniel Jones looked like an NFL quarterback.
Which for the first time,
Yeah, and
maybe ever.
I've never noticed him playing that well. But Tua, I've kind of had my doubts about the Dolphins, but I don't know. I don't see good starting quarterback for the Dolphins. Really. I mean, I don't see performance continuing to do any better. I don't see the bright side of the Dolphins roster, honestly, because Tyreek Hill on the way out probably too, or at least
I'd
playing
say
the way out.
vibes around the Dolphins are all-time low, and then just got this notification 3 minutes ago.
I saw-
Dolphins haven't received calls from teams interested in Tyreek Hill, but they have no plans to trade him.
I don't know what goes forward.
The Dolphins could be our flaming car crash team of the year
They
at
might.
the NFL level.
They might.
I think so because they had a little expectation, right?
Yes.
Because in theory, coming in, that they're still like
All
pretty
the
much a
pieces are still
playoff team.
there.
Yeah, because they didn't really get any. Their roster's not that different, and Tua at his best is a good quarterback. He's a pretty decent NFL quarterback, and they do still have Tyreek Hill. But it was really, I think, like from a social perspective too. It was very interesting to see Colts fans almost come out of hiding after the game because they've just not existed in the online NFL space, and all of a sudden
Since Andrew
they're
Luck
out in full
retired.
force. Yeah, it's like, wait, where have they been? But it's here's the thing too. I still think the Colts I don't know. We'll need a few weeks to see how Daniel Jones performs because if you told me at the end of the year the Colts only won 6 games, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
They will come back this week. That is
For what it's worth, the Colts have 2 games against the Jaguars, the 2 games against the Titans. They have 2 games against the Texans, which haven't been as good as appearing like what they were a couple of years ago. They get to play the Seahawks. They get to play the Falcons. They get to play the Steelers. They get to play the Raiders. They get to play the Cardinals at home. Maybe that helps them, maybe not. Are we looking at a 10-win team here?
Oh my gosh,
just
bro.
no, just for the
I-
purpose of a horrible schedule
I'd
that
say
leans in their favor.
Why
Like,
you
are
They're
They're
we?
getting
Cardinals,
that third
man.
place schedule.
No, it's a home game,
so. Do you believe?
and I'm
that-
still scared. I'm still scared of the Cardinals. I don't know. I just can't jump on ship yet.
You can't shake the Cardinals.
You're scared of the Cardinals?
I am scared of the Cardinals. I'm
You're
scared,
scared
of
of
both
them?
Cardinals.
Yeah, one is significantly worse than the other.
I would say,
I will say.
Riley O'Brien scares me. Dolphins are going to be 1.5 favorites against the Patriots tomorrow, which Vegas maybe not overreacting, but we'll see.
Yeah, that sucks.
Colts getting 1.5 in a home spot against the Broncos, which another non-overreaction because Denver looked shaky last week against a not great Tennessee team.
Denver is
So-
going to bully Daniel Jones. It's gonna be
That defense,
really
yeah.
shitty for
Not
Daniel.
quite the Dolphins' defense in Denver.
He might look
okay.
like Jesus Christ again. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But
He's
Could
He's
happen.
Indiana Jones, man.
yep. And see, I am pissed about that actually.
All right, Steelers 34, Jets 32. The Aaron Rodgers revenge game, I guess. He was a Jet. 22 of 30, 244 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then Justin Fields on the other side looking very impressive. 16 to 22 for 218 through the air, 48 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns overall, and only took 1 sack, which I guess so did Caleb. But good for Justin Fields. He's processing very quickly. Good for Justin Fields.
Dude, you know what's so funny is that going back to the Bears, of course, they're so dysfunctional that Justin Fields has to make his way to the actual most dysfunctional franchise in football, and that's the Jets. And he looked
Sure about
competent.
that, Austin?
Yes. As bad as the Bears have been,
God, it's
the
so
Jets
funny to
have
poke the
actually
bear.
been so much worse. No, dude, I turned off Red Zone at one point. I just turned on the Steelers Jets game. Like that's how it was such a fun game to watch.
Are we
That
are we
was-
confident now that the Jets could finally beat Alabama?
The Jets would beat Alabama this year by 90, in previous years by 50. So,
I think this is the most confident we've been in on that debate in the last 15 years.
Dude,
are we more impressed with Aaron Rodgers or with Justin Fields coming out of this game?
I think you have to be more impressed with Rodgers. Just for the fact that Justin Fields is in a completely different environment. He's a young quarterback. If he's put around the right people in the right situation, it doesn't shock me at all, based on the potential that he showed at Ohio State, that he can be just fine. Aaron Rodgers has gone through 2 seasons, one of which where he was injured, the other of which where he looked very bad in New York, and was able to step into Pittsburgh and get 4 touchdowns against the Jets. Now, I think this is the game of the week where you cannot really take too much out of it and carry it forward into week 2. I think these teams might be looking completely different based on their matchups this weekend, but I'd be surprised if Aaron Rodgers was to go out and continue doing this. If Justin Fields is performing at the same level, it wouldn't shock me for the rest of the year.
That's the thing.
The Steelers scored 17 points in the fourth quarter too. Some of
It's
this
that
is on
clutch
the
gene.
Jets for letting it slip away too.
The fumble,
So,
that was a big.
wait, go ahead, Nolan.
Yeah.
The fumble on the kickoff return was a big turning point.
Gibson
Yeah.
fumble. Boswell. Good.
I just want to say too, Aaron Rodgers, I think after the game was like, "This is for all the people in the Jets organization that think I can't play anymore." Sir, you played there for 2 seasons. Calm down. Not
played there for
everyone
one
has to be
season.
your op, okay? There's not anyone in the NFL that I don't really like more than Aaron Rodgers.
Hey,
Like, I
welcome to the club.
Okay.
I just want
Yeah, dude, you're with the right group, buddy.
does he has to thrive on everyone hating him.
Yeah, he's doing the Michael Jordan thing where he's making up hate that's against him to motivate him because there's nothing else left. He doesn't have any internal motivation. He has to create it.
Yeah, he's probably tripping out on shrooms as we speak, and the Hat Man
I
is
feel like
chasing
that's
him.
not. I feel like that's not exactly a healthy way to live your life, but
I
okay.
couldn't imagine. No.
Chris Boswell seals this one with a 60-yarder. It was not a game winner, but it was a go-ahead at the time. The Jets had a drive at the end. But Chris Boswell has always been an accuracy guy and not a distance, big leg type of guy. And he nailed a 60-yarder that would have been good from 68 yards. And that brings me to a larger question, which is throughout football at both levels, at the college level and the NFL level, we've seen kickers increase their range a ton by 5 yards apiece just this past summer. What do we think's the explanation for kickers suddenly having this ginormous leg that they
don't
know.
never had?
Go
I
ahead,
know that they're
Austin.
using kicker specific balls for field goal attempts now. And I don't know anything about the football. I don't know if it does anything different, but I do know that they are using a separate football from what they're actually playing with in the field of play. So I don't know if that would have anything to do with it, but just a thought.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was more of the analytical reasoning, which is, they can track, your leg speed, the swing speed, how far or how fast the ball comes off your foot. It's apex and height. And I think there was probably in the last few years, there's been a lot of math that just says this kick could have been good from six yards further, or even more. And I think too, it's okay, well, you're seeing almost a trend of these coaches being well, points are better than punting, so we might as well go for it. Because if you're you're getting no points by punting. And there's a chance too, if you have a bad punt, if you're on your own 40, and you're going for the 60-yard attempt or whatever, there's a chance that you only get like a net of like 20 yards in field position because you could punt it for a touchback. So I think that it's not that kickers are all of a sudden like way better, but I think that all of a sudden you're just seeing more coaches being willing to send their kicker out there for these long field goal attempts. For years, you've seen kickers hit it from 65 or 70 in warmups. Like, this has been a notable thing. Like, every game you watch, like, the kicker's ready, like, he just hit from 68 in warmups. I would say 55 to 58 or something is about the new 50. Like, I remember a time growing up when a kicker making a 50-plus yard field goal was impressive. And now it's like if they send a guy out there from 52, it's like, all right, he should make this. He's an NFL kicker. But even at the college level, like the kicking is getting really good.
It's kind of absurd, the difference, and literally in the past like 6 months of the trust that we have in kickers, and then also I think maybe at the NFL level especially, it's becoming more of a what type of kickers are we putting on our roster? Because you saw a guy like Jake Moody this past week who really struggled in San Francisco from inside 40 yards. Like these guys, they're bringing in kickers that have the leg to hit these long ones that maybe they're sacrificing accuracy for range. And so maybe it's some of that. Like you said, the biometric stuff is probably a key piece of it too. Steelers are 3.5-point favorites at home against Seattle on Sunday. And then, like we mentioned, the Jets getting 6.5 at home against Buffalo. Last game we're going to talk about that has happened, then we'll do a little preview. The Packers have played twice since we last had an episode, beating the Lions on Sunday 27-13 in the national game, the national late window game. And then on Thursday night at home, they beat the Washington Commanders 27-18. Two teams that made the NFC divisional last year, and the Packers. Neither of these games, like, the scores will tell you that they're, like, close-ish. Neither of these games were close. And Micah Parsons has done nothing but inject fear into opposing offenses. So, anything that you take away from the Packers in either game, Austin?
No, I got nothing. Send it to the next guy.
Okay, Nolan.
I think the Packers defensively, that like the fact that Mike Parsons is amazing a run game. Like I hear that one player in opposing offenses the way that Mike Parsons like completely.
Nolan, I regret to tell you nobody's hearing anything you're saying.
You're cutting in and out.
All right, how is it any better now?
Say
It
something.
might be.
Whatever he was saying sounded great.
Yeah.
I mean, I agreed with you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Micah
Yeah,
Parsons has an impact on the run as well as in
Yeah.
the pass rush because we haven't seen him he's gotten a ton of pressures, but he hasn't gotten to the quarter. I think he has a sack each game, but like nothing crazy. But just like seeing him trot out there on like, whenever he trots out there on a 3rd and 7, like they're pinning their ears back and he's gonna force you to make a play, and that's just something that the Packers have had decent edge rushers. They've had Rashawn Gary, but this is just a whole nother element that really propels the defense to the top tier, which is really scary considering I think Matt LaFleur might be the best play caller in the National Football League on the other side of the ball.
I fucking
Brennan,
hate the Packers, dude. Oh my god.
Austin is in hell right now.
The Week 1 results could not have gone worse for Austin Harrelson. And me.
Here's the thing. The Packers were going to be good before Micah Parsons. Like, they were going to be a solid team. But he does change the game plan on defense. Like, all of a sudden you're shifting shifting coverages to better account for Micah Parsons when you otherwise might not have. But here's the thing, like the Packers, they started out with 2 playoff caliber opponents and dominated, you could say, both games. Now they've both been at home. And the weather hasn't gotten bad in Green Bay. And I think we've seen maybe this Green Bay type team struggle, and Buffalo maybe to an extent too, when the weather gets really cold and it sort of one-dimensionalizes your offense. If we get like one of those snowy or really windy games where it's freezing in Green Bay, then we'll probably see some of this offense slow down for Green Bay, but then they've got the defense that's ready for it. I don't know. I think Green Bay's good, but I feel like the overall consensus in the football sphere is that all of a sudden Micah Parsons showed up and Green Bay just became good. Whereas it's more of they were good, and then they also added Micah Parsons.
Now, okay, so I think it's become fairly apparent with these results the past 2 weeks that your NFC title contenders are Green Bay and Philadelphia. Is there anyone else that we would consider adding to that group at this point? So I think it's just those two.
I would be scared to say Detroit. Like, I'd love to see Detroit still be in the mix, but I mean, it's going to be telling. I know that it's a week 1 game, and I know Detroit didn't look very good at all, but I would say let's pump the brakes on panicking over them right now. I don't think they're better than Green Bay, especially after that Parsons move, but at the end of the day, whenever you get to a 1-game playoff situation, are we going to completely rule out Detroit against Green Bay or Detroit against Philadelphia?
I would also say don't rule out Washington. Like, I think they're a pretty good football team too, and I think they will still definitely be in the conversation as we get to the end of the year. It's week 1.
Yeah,
like all these teams are gonna change. Like, this is not the end. There's still like 17 weeks of the season left. So, I think probably it's them. Like, I don't know. I don't think there really is a serious contender other than Philly and maybe Green Bay. But I don't think anyone would have said Green Bay before the season started. But then they've made 2 playoff caliber teams. Like, they just made them look silly at home, and they've dominated the game. So, yeah, who knows? But I wouldn't rule out Washington. I thought they played a pretty good game still.
They showed signs of life at the end, for sure. But
I think that
they had an awful first half.
I like Daniels, too.
A team that actually, like, and surprised me defensively because they have a very high-powered offense, but they played
Austin.
That's a good Texans team. Am I good? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
Well, he's completely gone now.
Yeah, he's gone.
Great points.
Jordan Love is plus 900 now to win MVP. He's 3rd in odds, just behind Lamar and Josh Allen. Do we think that he is a legit MVP candidate, or do we think that Lamar and Josh are a tier ahead?
I think he's a legit candidate. I mean, the way that we look at how MVPs are awarded right now, it's practically just going to go to a quarterback, especially to a team that's going to have enough wins to have a good regular season stretch and a good playoff seeding. I think they are probably at that same tier right now. At the same time, if the Packers go out and lose in week 3, I know that's going to look like a foolish take, but I think Jordan Love is right up there with them.
I think that it is pretty much a narrative-based award every year. Like,
Still on this shit, man.
Most,
Get off the Packers.
Who's having the most surprising season? Who's having, or it's that we've awarded it to this guy twice in the last whatever.
Yep.
We should probably award it to something else. It's like you see that conversation happens in the NBA all the time. Like, it's
Yes.
like when Embiid won over Jokic, and it's like, okay, well, we just don't want to give it to Jokic again, so we're having this like campaign of giving it to Embiid, where it's that's a whole different story. But I think
Jokic's 2 best seasons have been the 2 he hasn't won an MVP, which is hilarious.
Embiid averaged like 36.
Yeah, join us during basketball season as me watching 0 NBA.
All right, we can get off the Packers if that makes you happy.
Thank God. I want to bring up the Rams just real quick. The Rams defense.
Go ahead.
Great.
Looked really
Let me
good.
know when you're done.
Rams looked really good defensively, and their offense is, stellar as always. So that is a team to watch in the NFC. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay, this week on Sunday we're getting a Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City. The Chiefs are getting a 1.5 at home. The Eagles this past week traded for Tank Bigsby. I think Howie Roseman was just kind of bored, and he was like, "Hey man, like we've got the Jaguars have 3 running backs and we only have 1, so let's go out and grab their second guy." And that's just kind of like,
That's funny.
why do teams still make like Tank Bigsby? Inevitably, at some point, Saquon's going to get hurt, and Tank Bigsby will have like an 160-yard 2-touchdown game against an NFC East team. Like, teams should stop trading with the Eagles. Like, they're getting fleeced every time. Like, the track record is unbelievable.
Doesn't that just
Except,
oh,
of
there it
course,
goes again.
yeah. Except it was kind of interesting to look at the Micah Parsons proposed trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I feel like that almost was kind of a fair deal, maybe, and maybe in more so leaning in favor of the Cowboys. If only the Cowboys would have been strong enough to actually pull off that move.
Why would I mean, Jerry? For as much crap as I would give Jerry for trading him to the Packers, like trading him to the Eagles would have Dallas would have burned. Like that.
But are
they
you
would have
shocked that it
never let
hasn't
that
burned
slide.
yet? Like that's
No,
the
because
thing
I
is it
think-
hasn't burned yet.
I think that they're good. I think Dallas is still good, and I think that they're only gonna have to play the Packers once, and they'll have to play the Eagles twice. So
Yeah.
I don't think that Dallas fans and media would have ever forgave Jerry Jones if he would have shipped him off to Philly, and they have to see him twice a year.
Before you take off on us again, Austin, do you think that it would have been something interesting for Dallas to consider making that deal with Philadelphia?
No, that would have been the dumbest. That dude, the city of Dallas would have exploded. I would have loved it personally.
I
But,
do too.
You know,
I think
yeah.
the league office would have
No.
loved it too.
Mhm.
They would have
Oh, imagine.
loved that. Like
Right.
they could market so much, or like revenge, like it would have been great. But yeah, you can't do that, especially if you're going to play them twice a year.
Kansas City has not started a season 0-2 since 2014. Since I believe there he goes again. Since pre Andy Reid and Alex Smith, or maybe that was the first year of Andy Reid and Alex Smith. Do we think that is a home game against Philly a must-win for the Chiefs in Week 2, Brendan?
No,
Okay.
it's the season is so long. I think didn't the Chiefs have like 4 losses last year? Like
The
it'll be
Chiefs
fine.
they went 15-2 last year. Last year
Okay.
was the year they kept winning these one-score
Oh
games.
yeah,
that
it was
shouldn't have won.
the consent
Couple
they
years
kept
ago, they-
winning. Yeah, but no, I don't. It's not the end of the world, especially because it's not a divisional opponent, and they could still come back and still win their division. So I don't think, and I wouldn't like the Eagles. I don't think they looked that great last week. Like they had moments where they left the door open for Dallas.
Yeah.
So, and it's at Arrowhead. It's opening game. Like that is not an easy place to play. So, and when in doubt, like I'm gonna bet on the best player on the field. And there is still not a football game where Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback on the field. So
Yeah.
he might not get all the attention on the ground stats part of the game like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson does, but the playmaking ability of Patrick Mahomes, it'll keep them in any football game. Now, I think what is left to be desired is the Chiefs' defense. But that's been said for years. Nolan, I don't know what your take is on this, but like I know you've played a lot of football, but like in a 2-week stretch, if you're not playing well, like these are NFL professionals, but like, does it shake the confidence of a team that made a Super Bowl last year?
You know, can you guys hear me now? By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Okay. So, I don't think it would shake necessarily deep confidence just because like their track record. I mean, they're definitely confident in what they're doing. It does scare me if I was a Chiefs fan, which I'm gonna throw it out there. I hate the Chiefs personally as a Broncos fan, but the Chiefs their weapons, their offensive weapons, is just it's not been what it is in the past 8 years, and that is what scares me about this Chiefs team. But outside of that, I don't think this is a must-win for them. I think they're still the Chiefs. They still got Reed Mahomes, as you said, so I think they'll be just fine.
I'm going to add on to that. They play the Giants in week 3. They play the Jaguars in week 5. They host the Detroit Lions in week 6. And then they have the Raiders after that. Like, are we going to realistically say that the Chiefs are going to have less than 4 wins by week 7? And, I mean, even that includes not just this week with the Eagles, but also a game that they could win at home against the Ravens. Like, I don't think that this Chiefs team is much different. I think we're going to see them pick up wins in different places. Yeah, it might be tougher for them to win the division because, yeah, the Broncos are looking quite a bit better. But I don't think there's enough depth in the AFC. I don't think there's enough that's going to make the Chiefs worried where they're going to miss the playoffs. They might not be the best team in the AFC in terms of record this year, but I think it's not the end of the world if they aren't the number 1 seed. If they play a wild card game, they play a wild card game.
This goes back to that same point of ask the average fan or ask the coaching staff. All right, you want to play or would you like to play the Chiefs next week? And everyone is still going to say no. Like,
yeah,
if you think, oh, we're better than them, but I don't want to play them. Like, that's how this is going to work.
Like I mentioned earlier, like they went 15-2 last year, and they had a lot of, I don't want to say fluky wins, but like them and the Vikings were kind of the same way, in which they were very masterful in their execution, but they won so many one-score games, like they're due for regression at some point. This year, even if they only win 11 games and say the Chargers win the division or the Broncos win the division, like that's not a team that I would be interested in hosting in a wild card game, like you said. Like obviously they still have the intangibles, and we've seen like Mahomes last year, even though they went 15-2 and won the AFC in the regular season and postseason, he didn't really flip the switch until the postseason started. Like they won 15 games with him playing mediocre football. So, like long term, there's no reason to be worried, I would say, about the Chiefs. What about Austin? Do you think it's a must win or no? Week 2
No.
against the Eagles. Okay.
Honestly, I think this game really doesn't mean a whole lot. Fun Super Bowl rematch, but we both know both teams are good. The Eagles might go. I mean, they look like they could definitely repeat. If Jalen Carter isn't spitting on, if he isn't spitting on other players, then I think Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes looked really good week 1. So and that's like you said, Mahomes played very mediocre all last year, and I think, and he noted that himself, saying that he was going to play better, and he did.
Selective. It's like Austin's internet is censoring him. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude, this shit is
Do
gonna
you know what an
fry
Ethernet
me.
cable is?
For my Wi-Fi
Okay.
here.
Okay. Let's go. Last
Funny, we didn't hear any
NFL
of that.
topic. Last NFL topic. We're about to hit an hour just talking NFL. Brock Purdy is out. George Kittle is out this week for San Francisco already. Purdy's dealing with turf toe. He's going to be out up to a month. Kittle placed on IR for a hamstring injury, so he's going to be gone at least 4 weeks. We're going to get to see Mac Jones play football in the Kyle Shanahan offense, which frankly I'm really excited for in like a sicko type of way. I think that like we've seen Nick Mullins be really good in this system. We've seen CJ Beathard be pretty good as a 49er.
You have to be a sicko to be excited for that.
Like Mac Jones is far more talented than those guys. Like I think there's not a world in which Brock Purdy's getting supplanted for his job, but we know that Kyle Shanahan wanted to draft Mac Jones with the 3rd pick but but he was overruled when they took Trey Lance. I'm excited. They're still 3.5-point home or road favorites at New Orleans, who is dealing with a strong lack of talent. But like, I'm excited to see what the Mac Jones 49ers look like. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is one of those things that it'll test you. Like, I think it was like there was a Chiefs team a number of years ago that their offense ran a lot through their running back Jamal Charles, and it made them better by having to learn to play without their stars. It'll make everyone else a little bit better. Now that said, it'll get some other guys opportunities. Now that said, I think that this is not good news, right, if you're the 49ers, because you rely on both of those players so heavily. They could lose every week that they're playing, or that Purdy's out. Now, the good news is that they have New Orleans this week for them, right? But New Orleans looked pretty scrappy last week.
They looked, feisty against Arizona.
They were scrappy. Spencer Rattler looked better than I expected. He didn't throw an interception. And I will say, like, the Cardinals' defense is not bad, particularly their secondary. So it's not like he wasn't, going up against any competition. So, they could lose. So it's not good if you're the 49ers, but the Mac Jones storyline, like, that could be interesting.
I think a point that I was kind of thinking about this take, and it's not polished, but I'm going to throw it out and we can workshop it. The 49ers are kind of like the anti-Dodgers in a way in which, like, they deal with these injuries every year, and the Dodgers are kind of able to work through it every year. Like, they have all this depth, and like they have a stable of arms to where it doesn't entirely affect them, and we'll talk about the Dodgers here in a minute. The 49ers are the same, but just the opposite, in which all their guys get injured every year, and it causes them to win 6 games whenever they, like, have the talent of a 13-win team. Your thoughts on that take, Nick Triplett?
I am a little bit concerned about the 49ers. I know that, like, I'm looking at their schedule right now, too, and the fact that they get to play the Titans, they get to play the Panthers, they get to play the Giants and the Falcons, and just the next few weeks, the Saints and the Jags. Like, that lines up very well. But at the same time, you're right. They don't have George Kittle, which is still, I think, viewed as probably a top 3, top 4 tight end. So that position's going to see a major decrease. Albeit, Mac Jones could look very well this week. You're looking at not having Brock Purdy, who has led this team to a Super Bowl. And you're without a couple other notable players that haven't been on this team now for a year or two. I am scared about what the 49ers are going to end up doing, because they were able to squeak away with a victory last week against the Seahawks. The Rams look like they're a bit better, unfortunately. And then you don't even consider playoff situations where eventually the 49ers are going to have to match up against the Eagles. Are any of us going to realistically assume that the Eagles are going to play a close game against San Francisco right now? I don't think so.
I think full-strength San Francisco, that's the answer to my question earlier. I think a full-strength San Francisco team I would be willing to put in the tier with Green Bay and with Philadelphia. But they're never going to be that team because they deal with this influx of injury every year that far outweighs anyone else's injury issues. So you can't trust them. But if all the pieces can be fit together at the right time, they have the talent to be that team.
Can we move on to I've been itching to get to a little college football because I want to can we talk about UCLA? Holy cow. Sorry, I'm tired of this NFL talk.
Let's do it.
They've lost 2 games to Mountain West schools. They got beat 2 touchdown favorites last night to New Mexico against New Mexico, which Jason Eck, great coach, track record of building programs. You were 2 touchdown favorites and you lost by 25 at home.
They're,
And they lost to UNLV the week before.
and I think UNLV is actually good. Like, I think UNLV, but
But it doesn't change the fact that it's a Big Ten versus Mountain West school.
UCLA has been a disaster. Like, Deshaun Foster has not been the answer to, like, fixing the culture. They brought in Nico to play quarterback. He has not performed to the level that his name would, you would think that he would, based on, even though his numbers last year weren't ever, like, spectacular. But you would expect him to be better than he has been.
Yeah,
And-
I know Tennessee fans were hate watching. They've been hate watching to
Tennessee
the
fans have to
fullest
be
extent.
thrilled with what
Yeah.
the output of the early college football season has been.
Yeah, this could not be going better for them.
The bottom of the Big Ten is, I think, just as bad as the like, I think it's probably worse than the bottom of the Big 12. I think it might be just as bad as the bottom of the ACC. Like UCLA, Northwestern, and then we'll see about Purdue, but probably Purdue. Like, I like Barry Odom, but like there is a select few teams in the Big Ten that are not winning the MAC this year.
Yeah.
And UCLA is certainly one of them.
Well, the MAC is a different story. I think those teams, like I think maybe Purdue could win the MAC.
And so I think
Maybe.
Purdue and Toledo are probably about equal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get
Because
into
I was more a little bit more like impressed with Purdue's offense last week. The
I would say
defense on the
Purdue-
other- yeah,
Barry
they're
Odom.
fine.
Barry Odom is a good college football coach, and I have more faith in Purdue to be at least competent, if untalented.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have to go to Notre Dame this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's oh no, gulp. Like
we'll talk about Notre Dame. All right, let's get into college football. Let's if we have time for baseball later, we can do that. So we'll start with USF beating Florida 18-16 last week in the Swamp. USF has, I don't want to say played the toughest schedule in America to this point, but after this week you could probably make that case, which they get a home win against defending Group of 5 playoff representative Boise State. They go into the Swamp and beat the Florida Gators, who were probably massively overrated. And now this week they're going to Hard Rock to play the number 5 Miami Hurricanes at 3:30, and they're going to be 17.5-point underdogs. So first of all, I think Nick would get a kick out of this debate. This is undoubtedly the biggest game in CW sports history, right?
It absolutely
Like,
is. There's
I don't know what the answer is, but like the CW, when they signed on to get the ACC's like third best games every week, this, like, they couldn't have ever dreamed of getting a game that's going to get pulled in the ratings. This is the biggest game of the week.
we've got a top 20 matchup on the CW.
do we
Followed
know
by
what the
reruns
most
of-
watched
of The
football game
Flash.
is on there? Normally it would be like my territory of NASCAR racing going on later that day. Any guesses on like the most watched football game on CW? Like how many viewers it's had?
Oh, yeah, there's no
Game
way. of
1
knowing.
maybe?
I'd
The
say I'm
first
going to
game
say
in CW history?
it's. I think it's
not-
going to be an SMU game from either this year or last year.
It was not. I wish I had a source that I could like give this to. It was last year's North Alabama Florida State game with 1.33 million viewers.
Okay.
Are we doubling that today? Are we?
Oh, at least. This is actually like a very important game in the college football landscape.
It is.
Um,
Do enough people have CW
So-
to watch it?
Don't hate. I have literally no idea how to get the CW.
what do you watch games
Here's-
on?
I just like here's the real strategy. I'm gonna just give some people some free advice. Use your grandparents' cable subscription to log into your Roku apps, because that's what I do. Grandma, shout out. Thank you for the Dish login. You've got Big Ten Network and all the ESPN stations for me. I'm cool. So that's what I do. But I probably could get there. They probably have a Roku app. Let's be honest. But I'm not actively searching out the CW app.
Speaking from experience, they do have an app. I don't think they show the games on there live, which is mind-boggling to me. But they do have an app.
Isn't the CW one of those stations that if you're like really cheap, you could get like the antenna and like don't they have an over-the-air
Yeah.
equivalent?
They do. Yeah,
they have a
I'm pretty sure that they
Yeah.
have one for every market. I'm not sure how much they do in every market, but it's amazing to see like how the CW has been able to develop their sports stuff in just 2 years. I know that's a conversation for another day, but
They've done a good job, I think. I think the CW has done a fine job.
it's been very solid. Like they have a full Saturday list of sports, and that's not including like wrestling that they're jumping into and PBR. Like, are they becoming CBS Sports Network? Like just right in front of our eyes here.
Dude, good for them. Good for the CW.
It is.
No. CBS Sports Network at least, like, come on. CBS has the Champions League. There's levels to this, okay?
They can be the NBC Sports Network that has been retired.
Sure, because NBC
NBCSN.
Sports
The one
was-
that might be
was
coming back
the
this year?
German Polo Championships at 3:00 in the afternoon. Which, by the way, I think NBC's bringing back NBCSN.
Yes. It's about time.
Okay, so the top story for this past week in the college football landscape is Haley Sawyer, who is a voter that's a representative of USC football in the AP poll, submitted her ballot where she bumped Florida bumped them up 2 spots after their 2-point home loss to USF and kept USF out of the top 25. And then here is what she had to say about her process in making that selection.
As far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late the night before. Don't want to go too much into my process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it. But as far as
there are a lot of people
Why
that
did
are
she
really fired
see-
up about that.
Why was she grinning that whole time? It's almost
Yeah.
like she made a really bad ballot so that people would talk about it.
See-
About it. And I don't want to say trying to build a personal brand here, but that's not a good excuse to say oh, well, if I make a really bad ballot, there's so many other people that it'll even out.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say this too, before I'm not going to get fired up about this. The AP poll doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The real
Yeah.
one is that when the CFP rankings come out, and she's right, they will even out to a pretty high extent. But from a journalism perspective, your job is to be involved in the landscape. And so nobody could watch last week, and if you're a journalist that covers major college football and you vote on the AP poll, which is the poll that people use until the CFP rankings come out, you can't move up a Florida team after they lost a game that I think it was a bye game to USF at home.
Probably,
Just can't, that can't happen. And you can't leave them out of the, so there's just from a sports journalism perspective, you need to be well versed. I had a professor who would always say you have to know a lot about a little and a little about a lot, because that's your job. So, I think I don't like how she responded to that too. It's just the way she was grinning through that whole interview. It's almost as if she did that on purpose or something, or knew what she was doing. And the sarcasm with I'm glad people are having a good time with it. I don't know. It just felt dismissive.
I think that's just her trying to like take it like a champ. Because I bet she's been getting some like extremely angry people that are
Yeah, and there's
trying,
no
like,
reason for that
taking
too.
it. Yeah, it's
a
not-
game, and the poll really at the end of the day doesn't really matter.
It's not that serious.
And that's the problem, is because too many people are putting too much emphasis on that poll. She's absolutely right in being able to say that right now the poll does not matter. And I so wish that there was a way that we could analyze these teams and be able to promote games in a way that isn't just talking about like the number 20 team facing off against the number 15 team in week 2. I mean, we talk about how USF beat number 25 Boise State. Nobody now thinks that Boise State is a top 25 team. And yet that's going to bolster South Florida later on, because it's going to show in the record book that they beat a top 25 team. I think that's a little bit unfair for the way that we're analyzing teams, especially considering the way that the AP is structured, where you're going to have a number 1 team that's 0-1 fall to number 9. And I mean, if you look on the top 25 right now, there's a bunch of 1-1 teams that are higher than 2-0 or 3-0. It's just a system that needs corrected, especially if the college football playoff at any point is going to evaluate the AP results into their consideration of who makes it into the playoffs.
I like whenever I see the consensus online of, here, let's rank these two teams and we take the logo and the school name away, and like who's actually better.
The blind resume test.
Yeah, because for example, South Carolina played Virginia Tech week 1. It was a close game. It was kind of a dogfight. It took like some special teams miracle for them to really stretch it out. Then Vanderbilt goes to Virginia Tech last week. Vanderbilt is now 2-0, and I think they only got like 1 vote this week in the AP Top 25. But South Carolina is like number 11, I think. And they struggled against that same team that Vanderbilt ended up handling on the road. So, you know, like, that's the problem with ranking college football teams, is you get ranked early on about how you did last year, but in the era that we're in now, how you did last year really doesn't mean anything, because your whole roster can change.
Yeah.
And then, 2, it's like, how big of a brand are you? Have you built up that you are a powerful football team? And that's how a lot of voting happens.
I do think it's interesting and probably important to take priors into account in early season polls, though, because even with that point being made, if you were to look right now at a South Carolina team and a Vanderbilt team, that if they were to play head-to-head on a neutral field, you would have to imagine that South Carolina is probably the better team.
Oh,
And
of
that's-
course.
And that's what you thought heading into the season. And that's not, I think there needs to be a balance between the results that have played out on the field and what you went in with and would expect if they were to play in the future. I think there needs to be a balance of that in the AP poll. So
I also
don't think
want to. I want to give some
can't-
more credit to the voters, though, because the deadline for submitting this is like noon Eastern on
Yeah,
the
on
following
Sunday.
day, and what the problem is all these reporters pretty much have their own team to cover, and so they have to almost go home and then catch themselves up to speed, because like I just know from experience the voter at Nebraska last season, she isn't the voter for Nebraska this season, because the toll that it took to cover a team all day and be basically versed in, this is my sphere that I'm worried about right now, just like that reporter for USC. And then she had to go home, stay up super late so that she made a good ballot and make sure that she was getting everything in order. So, like, because the deadline is so early and because fans want the polls so badly the next day, then it puts a lot of pressure. And then that's how you can get some of these, like, almost rogue votes that sometimes it's not even to the fault of the reporter, too, is that they might not have had enough time to even know because they were doing their job, and then they have this extra job of being added to vote on the AP poll.
the USC AP voter really shouldn't have to care about, well, the AP voter should, but like the USC beat writer should not have to care about a Florida USF game that's happening early and all the way across the contiguous United States. Like that's only something that the AP takes into account. And I feel like maybe there needs to be a poll of like national, maybe not even national writers, but just like people that are involved with the sport nationally that try to watch every game, that are more familiar with everyone, they'd be a better source for the AP poll. Anyway, let's move on to the games that happened last week. Let's go quickly because we're starting to run out of time. But Oklahoma in the game of the week beats Michigan 24-13. John Mateer goes 21-34 for 270 yards and 3 total touchdowns, rushes for 74, and takes the lead in Heisman odds, which we predicted last week that if he won, he would stake his claim as the number 1 Heisman guy. Exactly what he's done. And then Bryce Underwood on the other side, going 9 of 24 for 142 yards. Just, again, kind of keeping the training wheels on the freshman quarterback. I don't know if Michigan's actually any good, but good for Oklahoma to get this non-conference win whenever we talked about last week how much of a buzzsaw their SEC schedule is.
Yeah, stack the wins like that. This is a great win for Oklahoma. I agree with you, Graham. Like, I don't think we truly know how good Michigan is just yet. And because, as you know, I'm not a huge believer in Oklahoma this year. But it's a good win for them. It was a pretty fun to watch football game last week for sure. Albeit I was checked into Nebraska the whole time as they were just dominating Akron.
Yeah.
Okay. It's crazy to say that was my first screen, and then the Michigan game was screen number 2.
Yeah.
But I was also
I understand it.
Yeah, I was also looking like last week when you kind of see like the games that are becoming like upset watch as the day plays out. Like I was checking in on, for a while, SIU was beating Purdue, and then I was checking in on Troy and Clemson over and over again just to see if that was going to continue to, like that. The early college football season is great for only those moments, but most of the time it sucks. Like when your power schools are playing bye games, which I want to talk about another bye game coming up. But
let's go into it now. Kansas State.
Yes.
Kansas State lost to Army 24-21, and then last night they're in the Big 12 with Arizona now, but they scheduled this non-conference game between the two of them before Arizona had switched. So we had a non-conference game between two Big 12 teams. But they lost that one as well last night. So K-State is what? They're 0-4 now? Or they're 1 because they escaped against North Dakota. So they're 1-3. I think the Ireland curse is real. And like last year, Florida State lost everything. They went 2-10 after going to Ireland. 3 years ago, Nebraska and Northwestern played. Nebraska lost that game. They had a bad year. But on top of that, Northwestern, who won that game, that was their only win. So, like, I think the Ireland
don't
game
remind me, man.
I'm sorry, Brendan. But, hey, we talked about the Bears, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
Turn off I think there's something to, like, going to Ireland early in the year. And hopefully Iowa State is, like, good. But it takes a toll on some of these teams that are unprepared, I'm going to say.
I think this is correlation, to be honest.
You don't think it's causation?
I don't think it's causation. No.
I just think it's interesting when it happens more than once. Like it's happened a couple times now.
But it didn't derail Georgia Tech's season last year. They were fine.
Didn't.
They won the game, but they were fine. Like Florida State, I mean, they were probably going to be what they were last year, regardless of playing in Ireland to start the year.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we only have 3 examples.
Yeah, it's a small sample size.
And Kansas State didn't look nearly as suspect last night. And Arizona is going to be pretty good.
Okay. I'm interested to see how the Big 12 shakes out because K-State was one of the teams that we were kind of looking forward to. And if they're dropping out, we'll see. Again, like Houston beat Colorado last night as well.
My Saturdays are usually a little bit, so I didn't have time to watch it. college football slate. I did tune in to the game at the tail end last week, but that was the one.
Which game? You were cutting out again.
Mizzou, Kansas was the
Okay,
game.
let's talk about that. That's on the list.
Yeah, that was
so. Bo Prabula transfers from Penn State. He goes 30 of 39 for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Jalen Daniels had 3 touchdowns as well. Mizzou wins by 11, but it wasn't really – like, it was closer than that. Kansas got out to a dominant lead early. It was 21-6 after, I believe, a fumble return touchdown. And then Mizzou just kind of kept picking away at them and then ended up winning. The big moment from social media from that game was this kid with a prosthetic leg has the chance to nail a 25 I don't know how deep the field goal was, but to kick a field goal for $25,000. And instead of making the field goal, he did this. Let's see if I can pull it up. You guys saw this, right?
I had
Aware.
Oh yeah.
So he's painted his chest, I believe, to say FKU, and he lines up like he's gonna kick it, and he just 360s and kicks it at the bench. Horrible kick. He didn't hit anyone, but
Yeah,
it was more about the message that he sent. We talked about this last week, how we were excited that there was like genuine hate between some of the teams that were gonna play, and that was one. Like that's what makes college football special. Like, you aren't getting that at any professional level.
Nowhere close to it. That's why, like, especially in the next few weeks, whenever Oregon plays Oregon State and Washington plays Washington State, especially like what's happened with the Pac-12, like those games are going to be so much fun in the next few weeks.
I think they're probably both going to be blowouts, though. I don't have much faith in the state schools this year.
I don't, but one can hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we'll get to like the Clemson, South Carolinas
Yeah.
kind of
say-
games, and there's going to be some really good rivalry games too.
We've got the
Auburn,
backyard
Alabama is
brawl.
always good every year. Just even if one of the teams, even if Auburn is not as good, we
We'll
haven't
see.
seen
Auburn
one
may
where
be better than
Alabama.
Alabama this year.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying in the last like 20 years, if there has been one of the teams that has been bad, it's just been Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But
the
even
other
when
game,
Auburn was like 6-6 against
game a
Alabama,
couple
it's
years
still
ago.
a great game. Like yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
there's some bad rivalries, but there's always rivalries where both teams are freaking good.
we had the Cyhawk as well, where Iowa State kind of narrowly escapes Iowa at Big Noon kickoff. I didn't watch much of that game because I was locked in on Illinois, who dominated. But you brought up that Mark Gronowski across 2 weeks has thrown for less total yards than the Nebraska backup quarterback in 3 drives against Akron. So that's the Iowa curse is real. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. All right, let's talk about some of these games. Let's go like 2 minutes on each. So Clemson is about to play Georgia Tech. That game starts here in about 25 minutes. Clemson, like we mentioned, spent more than half of the game last week losing to Troy. They fell down to a 16-0 deficit. Ended up winning 27-16. Dabo kind of rallied the troops. That game's on ESPN, and Clemson is a 2.5-point favorite in Atlanta. I think Georgia Tech is I don't know about covering. I think they're going to be in this game the whole way. I think Georgia Tech's good. Haynes King has made a believer out of me. What is your
Georgia-
take on that?
Georgia
Yeah,
Tech
okay.
is good. I mean, I think the Clemson game last week was a little bit of a fluke. I don't think they're going to they're not going to prepare nearly as much against Troy as they are for a team like Georgia Tech. I think we're going to see a different Clemson team today.
This is the spot, Clemson. It's not necessarily a get right spot, but like if you want to prove that you're legit, this is the game to do it.
Yeah. And
Okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Finish that thought, Nick.
I say Clemson wins easily.
Okay.
That's
Georgia, Tennessee, 2:30 p.m. on ABC. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite. This is the first real test for Georgia. They've scheduled pretty lightly so far. I'm interested to see what Gunnar Stockton looks like against another SEC defense. And then Tennessee, we saw them kind of beat up on Syracuse early. Obviously, they dominated East Tennessee State, who's awful. So it's going to be kind of a, like, how good is Tennessee really? Because they came in with kind of lowish expectations. Are they going to be a legit SEC contender? And then just how good is Georgia at all? This game's at Neyland, but Georgia's 3.5-point favorites on the road. What do we like here, Brendan?
Exactly what you brought up. How good really is Georgia, and is Tennessee a contender? That's exactly what my mind goes to. Because I don't really know much about Tennessee. I haven't watched a bunch of Tennessee football, and I'm not keyed in. But they've built their brand of, like, they're a good college football team over the last few years, as Heupel's been there. So, yeah, I'll be watching this game. I think it'll be good. But if, like, I'm not ever going to bet against Georgia.
Yeah, that's fair.
They've become the new Saban Alabama in the SEC. Like, Kirby Smart has built they built a wagon over there. Like, they're just, and they're the team to beat. So I know that this game is scheduled months in advance. Like, I'm surprised this isn't the primetime game.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that. Florida LSU in primetime is the SEC on ABC game tonight. LSU 6.5-point favorites at home. I don't want to call it a must-win for LSU, but they need to beat a Florida team that looks like they may not be that good. But this could maybe be a bounce-back spot after a look-ahead game against USF for the Gators. I'm curious to see how good LSU is at all, because if Clemson, like, this is our test for Clemson and LSU. Obviously, they played a great game in week 1, but it's kind of like the Steelers-Jets in the NFL. Was it because they were playing each other? Are neither of them really that good? Or are they both, like, legit top 10 teams? I think we'll find out today against a Georgia Tech and a Florida team that are kind of in that same tier of, like, fringe top 25 level teams.
I think it's even more important for Florida. I guess thankfully for them, they haven't had to play an SEC game yet, but they've got a really tough schedule coming up. And if they don't get a win tonight or look solid, I mean, that team just feels like it could immediately fall apart looking at the teams that they have to play. I hope that they're able to play closer tonight. I'm scared for them. I think LSU has looked pretty solid, and they'll be able to get away with this one. But, I mean, I would think Florida, even if they get away with just losing by a touchdown or a field goal, is still a victory.
I don't know. I think Billy Napier kind of coaching for his job in this spot, too, though. Because,
Yeah.
like, obviously we know what the schedule is. Like, if he wins this game, he has the opportunity to save his job, is how I'd put it. Because I think he's gone. If the season ended right now, he's gone, regardless. But he's just going to have to continue to be feisty, and maybe even better than feisty, if they want to legitimately contend and keep his job. And then last game, A&M at Notre Dame, top 16 matchup. I will call this a must-win for Notre Dame at home against Texas A&M, because they aren't going to have the same opportunities on the schedule to play a high-caliber schedule like an SEC team or a Big Ten team will. And they already took the loss to Miami. They're at home here, coming off a bye week, which is a super weird placement for a bye week. I'm going to call it a must-win for Notre Dame. What do you guys think?
I agree with that. This is probably their most important game of the season, being able to play against an SEC opponent, and whether we like it or not, that is probably going to be the way that the playoff committee views this type of game is, can they play against some of the best teams? And if they can't go out and beat Texas A&M, what's to say that they can't, or they would be able to beat one of the other top teams in the SEC that makes it to the playoff, or the Big Ten champion, whatever it might be. I think they do need to go out and win this game.
Game's on NBC, 6:30. Notre Dame 6.5-point home favorites. I think it'll be the game last year was in College Station. That was one of the best games early on in the season, which Notre Dame then immediately followed up with the stinker against Northern Illinois that kind of erased everyone's memories of that game. But I'm excited for it's a low key slate, I'll say. There's not a ton of like under the radar stuff either. It's kind of like these are the 4 big games, and you don't really need to watch anything else. So it's a light slate.
Yeah, next week is
but
when it gets real.
I think we're gonna learn a lot this week about these teams especially. But yeah, I think that's going to conclude this episode. We ran a little long. Austin obviously had some legit technical issues that we'll work on. So, like I mentioned at the start, like and subscribe to the YouTube page. All our other links are in the description. The website will be launching soon. And thank you guys all for listening, and we will see you at the same time.